Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. On a Monday, that must mean it's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, welcome back. It's been an interesting couple of weeks, and I'm glad that you're here with us, hanging out with us. So welcome back.
Thanks. I mean, we were gonna. Sorry, Eric. I mean, I tried to tell you about how awkward the opening might have been, but I mean, obviously, Los Angeles is going through a lot of stuff right now, but
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
still kind of doing our day-to-day stuff. So here I am doing it. We had Amita's mother sadly passed away, so
yeah,
we're dealing with personal stuff as well.
yeah.
But we're recovering and we're just kind of doing day to day. And so we're back because we, no matter what, there's always geeky stuff too that's going on in the world that we could be talking
It's
about,
a
I
ne- it's a
guess.
never ending, it's a never
It
ending
never
cavalcade of
stops.
geek. Yeah, yeah,
So you and I need to address these things and talk about stuff that makes us grumpy, makes us happy, etc., while
yeah.
I do an animation
That
type of
sounds great.
thing
That sounds
tonight.
great.
So
Well,
yeah.
I mean, let's just start with the grumpy. Could Nintendo have done a worse job with the release of the Switch 2? I'm just gonna, throw that out there.
Oh man.
Just
Um,
it is an absolute repeat of 2017. It's absolutely embarrassing. They should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, it's 2025 and we still haven't figured out I say we, but I mean these massive corporations with infinite funds still haven't figured out a way to make stock available to consumers, right? And it's
mhm.
just part of it, of course, is scalpers, right? um and they use bots and AI to buy as many pre-sales as they can so regular humans can't. But I mean, and it's a part of it is just sort of the evilness of modern day corporations. I mean, Nintendo gets free press when they have hundreds of people standing in line outside of a store at midnight the day before it releases. I mean,
Hmm.
the proof is in the fact that the entire day of the 5th and the day after, all of their social media feeds were just showing lines of people cheering and picking up their consoles in the store, and it's free marketing for them. I mean, there's literally no downside to them not supplying enough stock, right? They
Hmm.
gain nothing by making sure that consumers can go to the store and pick up their product. And there's two reasons for it. One, the price is low enough that scalpers can afford to do it. Um, and two, they don't produce enough, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I mean, Apple has kind of solved this. Like, if you want an iPhone on the first day, it's pretty easy to get an iPhone on the first day. Some places will
Hmm.
sell out, but I haven't heard of any one of my friends who are huge Apple fans who have had trouble getting their new iPhone on launch day in, I don't know, 10 years or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 2017, I mean, this has been 2017. This has been going on since like what, 2006 when the Wii came out. This is like the thing now, where every new
I would
console release, you know,
I would even venture to say I remember working retail and when the N64 came out, it was kind of nuts too,
really.
somewhat, especially during holiday season.
Mm,
Um, that was ages ago, another lifetime ago. But Nintendo's always kind of done it. The 8-bit system was one thing and it was fine, but it felt like it kind of started out with their games. I remember Zelda Ocarina of Time and all those
hmm.
type of games. Like there was limited supply for a long time, back and forth. Like they would do that, they would dabble with it with their games. But then it started creeping into the console releases, and the
Hmm.
Wii was the ultimate representation of low volume scarcity, all that kind of stuff. And it felt purposeful at the time, but you go into conspiracy territory once you start talking about that.
That's fair. That's fair. I think
You
it,
know,
it just in general, not just the Nintendo, but I mean, you remember the Xbox Series X and the PS5, the
hmm
fiasco about getting one
hmm
of those for
hmm
almost the
hmm
first 2 years they were out. It was almost impossible to get one.
I
Um,
felt like I felt like with those two though, it felt like with COVID, I give them a pass on that because
okay.
was the PlayStation hard to get like the 3 and the 4? I don't remember. it being as hard to get those, but I could be wrong.
They
I didn't really
were,
get those
yeah, I
launch
mean,
day.
I remember seeing the videos, the horror stories, because uh how they managed the release on the Xbox 360 and the PS3 were embarrassing, and so they just locked people outside of entire malls with no lines or anything like that, and they just opened the door,
Oh my
and there's
god.
it was like Black Friday, right? Just like seas of nerds running into these stores, grabbing them, and it was just absolute chaos. So it was a horror story. I remember hearing examples of like people being trampled as they tried to run into the stores and things of that
This is
nature.
this was for the PS4 or the
Yeah,
PS3?
PS3, PS3.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah.
sort of bonkers. And I just don't. I guess I just don't understand. This isn't a surprise at this point, you know. Like these companies again with infinite amounts of money, um, could create a situation where there is enough supply to meet demand. I mean, Nintendo has projected that they're going to sell 15 million Switch 2s this year. So they know that
Mm-hmm.
they're going to sell a lot of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
I just don't, I guess I just don't get it. And again, I'm singling out Nintendo because the Switch 2 just released, but I mean, it was the same situation. And I guess granted, I guess, you can give Xbox and Sony a pass on PS5 and Xbox because of the pandemic. Even the Switch was selling out during the pandemic, just because
Yeah.
everybody was required by law to stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but still, it's just I guess it's a little bit frustrating, and I'll get one uh when they're available, but I just don't care that much anymore. And you know me, I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy, and it's just not worth the stress. And so I'm just disappointed, and it's a sad thing, right? Because I'll get a Switch 2 at this point at some point, but it's not worth my energy to care anymore. And that seems like
Yeah.
a mistake on Nintendo's part, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, let me I'll transition to actually start
Yeah.
drawing some stuff
Yeah.
and we'll continue this.
That was a heck of a preamble for the episode tonight.
Oh, we're just making up for a little bit of lost time
Yeah,
too.
there we go.
Um, I guess for tonight, I'm gonna jump on working on Calamity Jane getting her this pose and her getting her tail separated, and we'll call
Okay.
that good for tonight. So let me see where I can get to as we talk more about Nintendo Switch stuff. But I will be borrowing from our library of
Mm-hmm.
already built assets, but this is a new pose, so I'll probably be drawing new stuff here tonight. And but yeah, we'll see where we end up tonight.
Sounds good.
Um, so going back to this Nintendo stuff though, what about so I didn't care about the PS3 or the PS4. I did end up buying one, but years later,
Right, right.
when they I think I bought it when they bundled Last of Us with it, and that's when I actually bought it. And it was fun. It was a great, I enjoyed the PS4, and I have a PS5, but again, I waited a couple years to getting one. I didn't care about fighting through the sea of people to get one. But I'm trying to remember, like, so with the N64, I remember distinctly during the holiday season, we'd have a whole pallet of N64s. A throng of people would be at the counter, and we were throwing them out into the crowd,
Oh my
like
God.
feed the masses, and they would, and then the Nintendo 64 would just bounce and slowly disappear into a sea of hands and and heads, and
My
then head
God.
to the other counter. Yeah, that's what
Wow.
it was for the N64. But when the GameCube came out, was that the same thing? Do you remember standing in line for that?
No, the GameCube, but the GameCube I got because my friend worked at Nintendo and I was at DigiPen
Oh,
at the time. And so
okay.
I got the GameCube almost 2 weeks before it was available publicly,
Hmm.
because my friend bought it for me through the company store. So I have no idea what the launch day shenanigans were for that one. I know that
Hmm.
there weren't any launch day shenanigans for the Wii U. Um, Part of that was because Nintendo did actually make enough for people to buy, and part of it was they didn't convince people that it was a value proposition to upgrade from the Wii, right?
Hmm.
And also the Wii had kind of become it's the shine on it had largely gone off.
Yeah.
And so you have the Wii brand that people had kind of gotten tired of, and it was a bizarre name, the Wii U, right? And people kind of didn't understand it and didn't really like the name in the first place. Um, and so yeah, it was. I had no. I walked into Target on launch day and bought one, and they just had a huge supply of them.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously the Switch was an absolute fiasco. Um, and I did stand in line for a couple hours for that, but I justified it because I got paid the whole time. I was working on a game at the time and was
Hmm.
doing a lot of research, so it was all billable hours. So I billed all the hours that I was sitting in line because I was doing
Hmm.
legitimate like research because I was writing the story for a game. It was actually a Bill and Ted mobile game,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
was just familiarizing myself with all of the lore. So I was reading on the comic books and watching on the movies, and so I was just like taking notes and for storylines, potential storylines and whatnot. And so yeah, I billed all those hours. So it was justified in that instance. Um, but yeah, the Switch 2 though, I'm not doing any freelance writing right now, so I have nothing to bill while I sit in line.
Hmm.
Um, and I wasn't going to like kill myself trying to get a pre-order because it was just sort of the standard, all the retailers' websites kept going down because it was getting hit by so many people trying to pre-order, and then tons of people's pre-orders got canceled, and yada yada yada. I mean, it was just an absolute fiasco, and
Yeah.
which everybody knew it was gonna be, right? No matter what Nintendo said, um, everybody knew it was gonna be fiasco. And then, of course,
Yeah.
we stood in line together for the Wii way back in what 2006, and we were in line for what
Yeah.
almost
Roughly.
8 or 9 hours, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it was 11.
Oh yeah,
Was it
okay.
2000? Was it really 2006?
Well, I was in
When the
LA.
Man, that's so. I can't believe it's almost 19 years ago.
Yeah, November 19th, 2006. Yeah,
Wow, that is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. One more year, it'll be 20 years, which is just
Wow.
absolutely insane. Um, But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that was fun though because it was you,
Yeah.
me, and a bunch of other people, a bunch of our
Yeah.
friends, and we just kind of turned it into a camping trip.
Yes, we
Um,
did. Yeah. And I remember, I don't remember if you brought your Nintendo DS and all that stuff, but people were sitting in line with playing their Nintendo DSs and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool.
yeah,
Taking breaks and going to get lunch or dinner or whatever.
yeah,
That was fun. I did enjoy it. That's probably my favorite experience for waiting in line for anything. Um, the anticipation of getting it and all that stuff in the midnight. It was pretty much, I think, we got it pretty late in the
yeah.
evening and or in the morning, right? That by the time we were able to get one.
It was sunrise by the time my wife and
Yeah,
I got back to our
yeah,
apartment. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I remember it was something crazy like that. But yeah, it was fun though. But yeah, but since then I've never waited for a console since then on launch day. Because I just didn't care enough.
mm-hmm.
Um, that was enough for me. I think that as much as I enjoyed hanging out with you and everybody else, it was enough for me to go, yeah, I'll never do that again for
Yep,
any console.
yep, same.
Um, and so now I live the terror vicariously through you or my friends that actually want to go do that. But like as you kind of said tonight, they're kind of falling by the wayside now. They don't care as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there's plenty of people to take your place and wait in line apparently.
Right, right,
Um,
exactly.
and it makes me wonder if it was worth it or not. I don't know. I think you are onto something though, because, for example, Apple doesn't have a problem releasing their iPhones stuff like that to the masses. So maybe this goes back to the conspiracy side of things. Maybe they do enjoy doing that. They've had enough years of practice at this point to know better, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yet here we are watching people still wait in line and still try to get one, et cetera, et cetera. I've been watching, as we sit here on YouTube. doing stuff here. But I mean, on YouTube, it seems like people have not had a problem, like YouTubers that review game systems. They haven't had a problem getting one. I've seen plenty of them just review it and talk about it, etc., etc. But I don't know how, I don't know if there's that much else to be said about it. I mean, it just seems like it's exactly what people anticipated. Mario Kart seems to be really popular and really cool. Um, but nothing about it to me. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, honestly, right now.
No, I mean it's got one game, right? Every other
Mhm.
launch game is available on another platform, and I own half of them.
Yeah.
Um, and Donkey Kong Bonanza doesn't come out until still like over a month, just barely, but over a month still.
Mhm.
So it's not, yeah, I mean it's not that urgent, quite frankly, and I've got a million games to play on my Steam Deck and on my Switch One, quite frankly, So, um, yeah, exactly. So it is just one of those things. Like I would like to get one, but it's not that badly, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
when I got my new iPhone, I my old phone was dying, so I just got on the Apple Store and ordered one, and they shipped it to me, and that was it. It was that easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and this was less than a month after it came out. Less than a month after it came out, right? Um, and there is no reason why Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo can't do the same thing,
Mhm.
right? No, do they have as much money as Apple? No, they don't. But do they still have infinite money? Yes, they still have infinite money, right?
Oh, they've definitely got the infinite money glitch going on for
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's frustrating because I am a fan and I would like to have one, and it's just like the standard thing where it is the reminder that these companies don't actually they don't care at all about their fans, right?
Yeah.
um they care about their fans who are willing to go above and beyond because it's essentially free marketing. um but they don't care about just normal people who would like to enjoy their products.
So do you think so yeah, expecting them to sell 15 million units is one thing, but considering the Switch is probably it's I think it's encroaching on the all-time greatest console. I think the DS still passes it is still ahead of it
Yeah,
numbers
I don't know
wise.
that the exact numbers, but yeah, I mean it's sold a lot of units.
Yeah. So meanwhile, we have this Switch 2. I wonder where it's going to fall in the pantheon of releases for for Nintendo if it's actually going to surpass the original Switch 1 at the price points that it's at.
Yeah, it's a good
Um,
question.
I don't. I I'm kind of leaning against probably not. I don't know if it will.
Well, the Switch I just checked, 150 million units
Okay.
to date. The DS 154 million.
Wow.
The 3DS okay. So yeah, the DS definitely still has it as far as the Nintendos are concerned. Well, maybe curious about the Wii.
Hmm.
Um Okay, yeah, 101 million for the Wii. So yeah, the DS is by far their biggest seller. The Switch is their second biggest. Um, so yeah, I mean, you're right. The when the Switch 1 came out, it came out at what, like $300, I think.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is 500, so not quite double, but a significant jump. The accessories are between $20 and $50 more expensive than they used to be. The games are between $20 and $40 more expensive than they used to be.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean it is getting to the point where their platforms and their products are becoming luxury items as opposed to something that anybody can enjoy.
Yeah, which is odd because it did spring out of being a hobby for
Yeah.
like you and I and plenty of people. Like even the DS, I think it used to retail for what, 179 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't recall
That sounds
exactly.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember paying that for a few DSs I bought back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
here and there. Um, but yeah, the Switch 2's price point definitely, yeah,
Well,
it puts it in the luxury status. And also on top of that, it's weird how the Switch, what was great about it is the price point is low enough to where you can hand it to your kid and not worry about it as much. It's still expensive, but
mm-hmm.
now you're handing them $500 unit that could easily be dropped or something, and you're just out of that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing that's kind of odd to me is the yeah. Um, who are they trying to sell this to? People that want it as a fashion item? Like, I don't get it.
They're moving strictly into sort of the luxury consumer electronics realm with like the iPhone, but the difference is the iPhone is a multi-use device that has functionality well beyond the scope of what the Switch 2 can provide. And yeah, admittedly, the Switch 2 costs half as much, but only for like the top end version. I mean, if you get the low end version of the current iPhone, it's not that much more expensive than a Switch 2. And the iPhone out of the box is basically fully featured, whereas the Switch 2, you really do need like the Pro
Yeah.
controller. You do need, if you want to utilize its core, like it's got a whole button just devoted to their chat system. Well, it doesn't even
Mm-hmm.
come with a camera out of the box. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an entire piece of functionality on the platform that is functionally useless unless you buy an additional $100 accessory, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I have no intention of buying a camera. I don't need another camera pointed at me while I'm watching TV or whatever. But and so it's an entire feature that is functionally useless to me. It's a button on the
Mm-hmm.
controller that I'm just going to accidentally press that doesn't do anything. Um, um, but um, but yeah, a couple of friends of mine who have children, they looked at the price of the Switch 2 and their kids wanted one, and they're like, yeah, no, that's not happening. Right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
not a device, it's not a family device anymore, right? It is
Yeah.
it is a device for people like you and me who have disposable income, um, and who, will take care of it in such a way that it's not going to get broken. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to say about it. It's gaming, frankly, at the AAA level has effectively become a luxury hobby for upper middle class people, right? Upper middle class
Yeah.
adults, right? Not even
Mm-hmm.
kids, upper middle class adults. Um,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit frustrating because I don't think it should be that way personally. I mean, it's my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
but I don't think it should be that way. I think it should be cool. I mean, I think my nephew should be encouraged to want to enjoy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anymore, he's not going to probably for 4 or 5 years, frankly. Because his parents are like, nope, too expensive, not worth it.
Oh, on top of that, though, there used to be a time when you'd want to buy a console to play a certain type of flagship type of game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mario Kart, of course, is the flagship of flagship games. That's great and all, but I don't feel the need to play that game like
Right.
on launch day or anything. Like, it's not the same. The same kind of buzz and I don't know, FOMO is not there. Um, and I think for kids, yeah, I don't know what I hear what you're saying because the Switch 2, what is this? Who is this audience now? If it's not for
Mm-hmm.
kids, then good luck trying to compete with adults who have plenty of other ways to consume media and games. I mean, like if you're gonna spend $500 on a Switch 2, why not get a Steam Deck or go with a Lenovo Go or
Right.
something else that is already have has a lot more robust features in it. Unless you play a bunch of PC games and everything else with it, and plenty of games already come on that system that's on the Switch too. The only thing you're really paying for is $700 to play Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. After taxes, of course, and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
it's still pricey just to play a game. Um, it needs to have a lot more of a library to it for me to want to throw money at it. But at least for me, I have no, I am watching I'm watching with curiosity on the sidelines, watching people play it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm feeling no remorse of not trying to get a launch day at
No.
all.
Right.
I just I'm just enjoying it as a hobby and watching other people play the game and getting their take on stuff. And that's been kind of fun. But and I was kind of rooting for you to get one on the side just so I could live vicariously through your frustration a little bit, if anything,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
your enjoyment of the system. But the fact that you haven't, yeah, I'm not surprised either because of the nature of their window of releasing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is I agree with you. I think that it is possible. I mean, not guaranteed, but definitely possible that the games industry is heading into the direction of making its a section of its audience so niche that it's going to hit peak AAA, right? I mean, we've talked about this at length. 90% of the games industry is dominated by free-to-play mobile games and live service games, right? That people
Hmm.
play on their iPads and their phones and whatnot. AAA gaming and that includes basically anything that's on the Xbox, PlayStation 5, and the Switch family of systems, is increasingly becoming a luxury uh, market. And luxury and boutique markets, those are fine, but they have very specific narrow consumer bases, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I don't think that that's what you should be aiming for personally. um so I don't know. I don't, it's all getting very confusing. The world is very confusing right now.
Yeah.
And the Switch 2 is the least of it. But yeah, like you said, I look at Mario Kart World, I'm like, yeah, I want to play that. That looks really fun. And that's it, right?
And that's
It's
that's it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I wish there was more to say right now. I mean, we're only 1 week. We're not less than a week in from launch, so I guess we'll see
Yeah,
what happens in the next couple of weeks. But I wonder how how much this initial feeding frenzy for trying to get one kind of wanes, and you'll start seeing them just kind of populate everywhere, and you'll be able to get one and walk in. Like I bet you maybe another 2 weeks. If you want to get one, you probably could get
maybe,
one in like I would imagine 2 weeks, but I don't
maybe.
know.
I mean,
I am not privy.
it's unclear. It is truly unclear. And obviously, there's the political concerns that are legitimately interfering with things, right?
Sure.
Um, and so who knows how that affects the supply chain. Um, and yeah, I mean, if I'd be happy to eat my words if, like, in 2 weeks, everybody's like, "We've got infinite, come on in whenever you want to," but it's not going to be the case, right?
Hmm.
Um, you know, I think that the and obviously Nintendo hasn't announced any numbers, but the initial shipment for the entirety of the United States, which, as a reminder, has a population of 330 million people, and something like 30% of all Switches sold were sold in the United States, right? So the United States
Yeah.
alone accounts for something
Yeah.
like 1/3 of all Switch sales. My
Hmm.
understanding is that they only shipped 3 million Switches to the Switch 2s to the United States,
Okay. All right.
right? So it's just like, okay, well, obviously 3 million units isn't even going to put a dent in the early days demand. I mean, it's not even close, because you have
Hmm.
to factor in scalpers and using bots and AI, and they're gonna chew up almost 20% of that stock.
Yeah.
um um and so, like, that's 20% less out of 3 million. I don't do math in my head very well. What is that? 600,000 of them are immediately going to scalpers.
Hmm.
Um, and so now, so what, you have 2.4 million to go to everybody else. All right. Well, that's definitely not going to be enough, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so, and the fact that that 15 million number is worldwide. That's not in the United States, right?
Hmm.
So there's just no way that they're going to meet demand for the world let alone the United States for the rest of this year, right?
Mm.
So I don't really see a scenario whereby you're going to get one of these platforms or one of these systems without getting up at 3 in the morning to go stand in line at a Best Buy or hitting refresh on a store page when the rumor of a new stock coming in, right? And I just don't buy anything that way anymore. Pure and simple. It's just not
So
how this works anymore for me.
yeah, I can see how you're coming to that conclusion. My only piece of evidence that tells me that more will be coming is when I went to every day after the launch of the Switch, I've been just kind of casually going to Best Buy just to see if I can order online.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
every time, normally Best Buy will say sold out, not available, etc., etc. Every day I've checked, at least here locally, they've said only available for in-store purchase. They've continually said that, implying to me that they are going to get stock and it's just going to drip in, and you just gotta have the luck of the draw and show up. And they even got to a point where they said you check like there's an in-store display in Chatsworth someplace, where here
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
California.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if they even have displays everywhere else, but they never have said sold out, or like Best Buy will do things. I thought they would do things where sold out, sign up for an alert, that type of thing. That hasn't happened at all, which I find just interesting. But I would out of what you said, I do believe what you're saying. I don't know. There's something in the back of my head that thinks that they will just drip them out, just like they've done before, like where they kind of just do these shadow drops of content or of their hardware or the games, and this is just their MO.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but yeah, maybe you will be having to wait another year or so. Maybe next year is when you'll finally get it. Yeah, but again, sounds like you're not really that bummed to not get
Yeah.
one.
I mean, I'm bummed, but like, whatever. I mean, my main console right now, anyway, is the Steam Deck. So,
Hmm.
like, um, so that's fine. Speaking of more disappointments, transitioning a little bit,
Hmm.
Yacht Club Games released the demo for their next adventure, Mina the Hollower.
So, has it have anything to do with Shovel Knight, or is
No,
this a
no, no, it's
completely different?
completely different product. I don't like it.
What is it? Is it an 8-bit? Is it the same style, or is it completely different?
It's overhead. Think the Link's Awakening on the Game Boy.
Okay.
It's that kind of visual style. But it's not a Zelda style adventure. It is still a discrete stages that you work through,
Hmm.
but instead it's an overhead perspective instead of a side scroller. There's still an awful lot of platforming in it, and it's terrible.
Hmm.
It's I the way that they've got the controls implemented, I don't like. It's very slidey, and there's a lot of pits to jump over, and the gravity god is working, or the gravity boss is working at double the speed. I didn't even finish the first stage because I had to go and work, and I turned it off, and I was like, I didn't really like that, and I have had
Oh
zero
man,
motivation to turn it back on.
not good. I wonder how. So when did this demo drop?
Saturday.
Okay. I wonder if a lot of other gamers are kind of having that same experience that you are with it, or are they part of the cult of yacht games and loving it no matter what because they love Shovel Knight? I wonder. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked at the Steam reviews on the demo page.
I
Um,
recall you. I recall you telling me about how you played the Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon or something like that. There was another release that they did, and it was middling, right? It wasn't as good as Shovel Knight.
right. Well, the only game at this point that Yacht Club has actually directly made was Shovel Knight and all of the expansions for Shovel Knight,
Okay,
right?
all
Shovel
right,
Knight Pocket
okay.
Dungeon, Shovel Knight Dig, Shovel Knight
Are
I
these
think
all licensing
there's
type of
yeah,
things?
they were yeah, they licensed it to other developers and then
Oh,
published it.
okay, okay, all right. So this is their first foray into a new game period, and it's not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
exactly. Um, and I'm looking forward to Shovel Knight DX, which is basically this Uber version of Shovel Knight, where every character in the Shovel Knight franchise is a playable character with their own unique abilities. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. Um, and that should be fun because at the very least, I really like Shovel Knight. But yeah, Mina the Hollower, visually, it's kind of ugly and drab looking.
Okay.
Um, the the platforming I found incredibly frustrating. The combat wasn't nearly as engaging as Shovel Knight was. It was too far between waypoints, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it's similar to Shovel Knight, right? Where if you die, you have to go collect your stuff again, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and you go back to the last waypoint. Um, and the controls I didn't really find that fun. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, just I was a real disappointment for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always kind of neutral with Shovel Knight. I love the art design. I'm just going off of just their first game. I love their art design, love their music. I wasn't a big fan of the level design for the games. I wish that they would have fired their level designer.
Mm,
Um, because I again the gravity boss was I just found like everything was designed around the gravity boss for the main Shovel Knight hero heroine. But you told me later with the DLC and the add-ons that the levels actually made more sense if you played them with the other characters. But at that point, I was so over the game that I didn't want to give it another chance, really. So that was at my point at my patience was already worn thin, so I gave up on them. But what you're telling me now with this new game, it kind of confirms that they still have the same level designer guy
mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
woman, and whoever's doing it does not know how to make a good old fashioned good level, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am wrong. That game did gangbusters, was super popular, cult following. I get it. I'm completely on the outskirts of criticism for that game, I guess. Yeah, plenty to like about it though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went into it going, oh right, the new,
Yep.
I went in
Yeah.
going very excited and I came out pretty disappointed at the experience.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I don't know. The final game doesn't come out until October, so maybe they'll continue to polish some of it. I think for me the biggest issue was there's all of this overhead platforming, right?
Hmm.
Um, which is harder than side-scrolling platforming, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
side-scrolling platforming you have the vertical arc, and
Yeah.
there's not a real clear arc on the overhead platforming, which is
Yeah.
why you don't really see a lot of platformers from that point of view.
Hmm.
There's a lot of very fine jumping where you have to jump from one tile, like just a single tile large platform to another single tile large platform. And it's got that problem that a lot of um, platformers have where it's everything feels like you're just a little bit on a curved surface or everything is just a little too slippery, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Shovel Knight and Mario and Mega Man, like everything feels really anchored and crisp and like you know where
Yeah.
you stand. Like
Yeah.
very rarely do I feel like I lost because unintentionally slid off of a platform, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
But
Castlevania
Castlevania,
Castlevania, they're all really
yep,
tight with that stuff.
yep,
The reason why, like the way to design them was like you could see the actual blocks, of the backgrounds, and they would actually be good guides for you to know where you can stand and where you can't,
mm-hmm,
etc. Right? I mean, it was just really well back
yeah,
then, well designed games.
yeah. And so all of the jumping feels like you're kind of on ice a little bit,
Oh man,
and then you're trying to do these precision jumps from an
yeah.
overhead perspective, so you're not even don't really even have a clear sense. Like actually you have no clear sense, and the way you learn it is you learn just through the game teaching you that you can jump far enough to cross a single tile gap, right? And so
Hmm.
it's not this kind of intuitive sense because you can see how Shovel Knight or Mega Man is jumping. You have to memorize the graphics basically to understand your jump distance. Um,
Man.
and that I just did not find fun. And then the core conceit of the game, which is where the game gets its title, Mina has the ability to burrow underground, right?
Okay.
And when she burrows, she speeds up, and then you can jump 2 tiles instead of 1 tile, right? But the way you burrow is you have to jump, continue to hold the button, the jump button, and then she burrows, and then you have to continue to hold the button, and then let go of the button for her to leap out of her burrow state, right?
Okay. All right.
And she can only stay burrowed for about 2.5, 3 seconds at most. Probably closer to 2 actually. And so I never realized how trained I am with Mario, where Mario and a lot of platformers who are took the design mechanic from Mario, you're the height that you jump is dependent on how long you hold down the button, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and your
Mm-hmm.
your your X velocity.
Yeah.
Um and so at least me, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but at least me, because I was trained that way, your input is on press. And so you can hold the button down for as long as you want, and when Mario lands, he won't just automatically jump again, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With Mina the Follower, obviously her jump height is fixed because you're not looking at it from a side, you're looking at it from above, and so there is no height consideration. So whether you tap the button or hold the button, Mina's going to jump the same amount of distance, right?
Yeah.
So, but because I was trained, and Shovel Knight takes the same thing. Shovel Knight's jumping mechanics is exactly the same as Mario's jumping mechanics. Um, I found myself holding the button down to jump naturally, like I've spent my entire life, my muscle, 30 some
Mm-hmm.
odd years of muscle memory,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and would jump and then unintentionally burrow and slide off of a platform,
Oh man.
right? Because it is working against what my muscle memory has been for 30 years about how platformers work. Um, I think it was a horrible mistake for them to attach the burrowing mechanic to the jump mechanic.
Yeah, it sounds awful. And on top of that, like you said, the fact that it's overhead, you
Yeah.
have no sense of depth
Mm-mm.
on top of that, like when you're
Mm-mm.
burrowing or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. And so you have to memorize it like, okay, a burrow jump will take you 2 tiles, a regular jump will only take you 1 tile. And it's like, that's not fun to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel organic. It just feels like I'm reading the environment at that point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why they didn't do what they did with all of their other games, right? Where you press one button to jump and then another button to activate your special ability, right? And
Yeah.
with Shovel Knight, it's jump and then down on the D-pad. With
Mm-hmm.
King Knight,
Yeah.
it's dash with the one button and jump with a different button, right? So I don't know why they did that. Because clearly they understood that they needed to do that in Shovel Knight. So I don't know why they made that change for Mina the Hollower. But honestly, if I would like the game a lot more if it weren't for that, because here's the other thing. The Gravity God is even worse in this game than it was in Shovel Knight because of how the health system works. Um, so in Shovel Knight, the health system is you get some food, right? And it just refills whatever health you have. It's that simple, like Castlevania or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the health system in Mina the Follower is you have a health bar, and when you take damage, it does one level of damage, and so it does damage, but it's got like this leftover piece. And you have 3 healing vials, up to 3 healing vials that you can carry at a time. And when you drink a vial, it will heal up to that sort of phantom health, right, that you've lost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the way you recover phantom health is by killing enemies. So it doesn't heal you, but it increases the amount of health you can heal um, when you use one of your vials, right? But here's the problem: when you fall down a pit, it gets rid of all the phantom health that you can heal and it does damage to you. So there was one room that I had to do all of these precision jumps to get to a treasure chest. and I kept falling down a hole, and it kept doing more damage to me. But because there was no enemies in the room, I couldn't regenerate phantom health, and so I couldn't use my healing vials because it wouldn't heal me. Because you have to have phantom health to heal.
Wow,
And
man.
so I would get to these platforming rooms and end up dying and having to go back to the checkpoint, not because I didn't have healing vials, but because I didn't have phantom health that the healing
To attack.
vials would
Yes.
heal. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that sounds frustrating. Yeah, no wonder.
incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, no wonder. No wonder you bailed on that game. Doesn't sound
Yeah.
like you're returning that game anytime soon.
No, I don't think I will be. Super disappointed because Jake Kaufman's soundtrack is amazing as always.
Mm, mm.
Visually, it's not nearly as good as Shovel Knight, in my opinion.
Wow, that's
Um,
disappointing here.
the and obviously the actual game mechanics fall far short of Shovel Knight, in my opinion. It's super disappointing. I was really excited about it, especially when I thought it was like a Legend of Zelda style adventure game,
Mm-hmm.
and then just
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
fact that it's still just a stage based um, action platformer, but then the platforming is awful, in my opinion. Was super disappointing.
Mm. Well, hopefully we can well, we can talk about some things that were good. I think
We've been going for an
we
hour, so we might have to say that
yeah,
for another time.
yeah. We still that means we still have to bookmark Sinners. I'd love
Yes.
to talk to you about Balatro and Resident Evil 4 remake at some point.
Oh, you finally caught the Balatro addiction bug?
Oh my, have you played it?
Oh yeah, Balatro's amazing.
Okay. Wow, I can't believe you never told me about this game.
Oh really? Oh, I feel
Wow.
like I thought I had. Okay, well,
Maybe you have and I ignored you because it's possible. Maybe I just ignored you. Um, but man, what an incredible game this is. And talk about
yeah.
sound design's great, music's
Mm-hmm.
great. The visuals
Mm-hmm.
are exactly what you need for a game. It's not doesn't overstay its welcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over embellished. It's an incredible game.
Mm-hmm.
By made by a small team.
No,
Um,
not a small team, a guy. A single guy.
really one guy? I was looking at the credits, I saw a whole bunch of names, so I
Well,
assumed
they
just
got a
small
lot
team.
of assistants and things like
Okay.
that, but he was basically the core of the entire game. So there's a lot of like
Wow.
contract work and that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. Well, let's save some good stuff for next week then. At this point.
yeah, for sure. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Everybody, if you want to head over to calamityjane.rocks, that'll take you to our Patreon site. Why don't you please consider becoming a subscriber and helping us make this cartoon a reality? You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, which presumably you have since you're watching this right now. We're also on Instagram where we all, post all of our information and any updates and that kind of stuff. So before we go, I sort of jumped into the finale before James. You kind of took us through what you're working on, so I'll let you close out
Yeah.
with that, and then we'll call it a night.
Yeah, I kind of completely spaced it. Oh yeah, we're making a cartoon here.
Right, right.
But yeah, from that one pose, you can see this shot is at least roughed out. I'm gonna do some subtle animation with the hands and feet, but yeah,
Hmm.
Calamity's tail sadly gets ripped in this
Oh
scene.
no. Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully you as a viewer can see that
I can.
happening.
Yes, I can. I
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Great. So that means my job as an animator is done. Let's go. Let's call it a day. Let's call it a day.
All
Let's call it a
right.
wrap.
We're
Yeah,
calling it a
but
wrap, everybody. Okay,
yeah.
well, we will see you next week unless life once again gets in the way. Until then, stay safe out there, everybody. Good night.